Two Guys, One Pod, Fantasy Football Podcast. I am the legendary ball knower, and today I am joined by the official winner of day one of NFL free agency, Bears aficionado, host of the NFL Uncovered, the Uncovered NFL channels, Bears Uncovered. I'm here with the Nard Dog, Addison Narder. Addy, tell the people how you're doing today, brother.
Oh, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm hyped. It's fantastic to be a Bears fan today. It's so good. Everything's great. Chev, we don't got video on this, but Chev can attest. I normally take this in my office. We're sitting at the bar today. We're next to the Khalil Mack football. I know we didn't get him, but we got everyone else.
Yeah, you did get everybody else. So starting there, I guess, well, we're not going to start there per se. There's a lot that happened so far today in free agency, and there's a lot that might happen. A lot of dominoes might fall. Let's talk about a couple of them. Let's lead off with, the elephant in the room. There's a couple receivers that we were kind of looking at, and then from a fantasy perspective, it was kind of iffy. One of them still might be iffy. I want to get your opinion. How do you feel about Davante Adams to the Rams and DK Metcalf getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Okay, let's start with Davante here, because I think that one's the more interesting from a fantasy angle. But DK is interesting because, oh my gosh, where is he getting his weather? But Davante goes to the Rams. I think this means the end of Cooper Kupp. Can we both agree? Is that the starting point here? They aren't keeping Cooper Kupp on this team.
Yeah, ram it and slam it. Cooper Kupp's going to play somewhere else in 2025.
Yeah. If you're getting excited for Puka Nacua, Adams, Cooper Kupp trio, you shouldn't, because you won't get to see that. But
yeah, that's nuts.
See, what scares me on this one, and I'm embracing the Captain Underpants thing. This is my season of unders.
The season of unders continues.
Doesn't this feel like Allen Robinson?
Well, you have to take that somewhat like, I view them as two totally different tiers of player. And so Davante showed me, yeah, I mean, as much as I'm a big Allen Robinson fan, so it's tough for me to, now, granted, I was fooled. I was personally harmed, and I've got a class action suit against the Rams for what they did with Allen Robinson way back in 2022.
Oh, you were also a believer. We've never talked about this specific one. I'm a huge A-Rob guy. I was shocked.
Yeah. No. I've told the story on the podcast of how my friends in my longest running home league all ridiculed me because I was very bullish on Allen Robinson during his 80 for 1,414 season, and they all made fun of me. And so, but from that moment forward, I've been a big Allen Robinson believer. And so when he finally got with the Rams and got free of Mitch Trubisky, and it's going to be good again because, Stafford, and yeah, I bought in, and that didn't feel good. So, but this is different though. I mean, we were looking at the tail end of Allen Robinson, and even if you were holding out hope, you still were like, man, I don't know how much he's got left in the tank. This doesn't feel exactly like that, but I still think that Davante Adams could be a major contributor, and if he's in that role, in the Cooper Kupp role, quote unquote, or if he has a role designed for him because Sean McVay is a confirmed offensive genius, this could be fantasy gold.
It could. And I believe that because we saw towards the end of last season, Davante Adams won you a couple weeks in the playoffs. He still had that wide receiver one output potential. And given it's with Aaron Rodgers, he did have that mind meld, but we're talking about a trade in March. Or sorry, a signing in March. This isn't a guy coming over late. Like, he can get that mind mold with Stafford. He can have that coffee and donut in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Make sure Stafford knows him. Yeah, get that shower narrative.
Yeah, the shower. Yeah, we finish each other's shower. Wait, you were supposed to say sentences. Anyway, I think this. Here's the deal. For me, it's just I'm doubling back down. So Matthew Stafford almost was my bring home the bacon player last year because I looked at all these weapons. I looked at what they had done with the offensive line, and I was like, oh, this feels like a 5,040 year for Stafford. And then everybody died, and we only got good Kyron Williams for a long stretch of the imagination. And then once Puka and Cooper got healthy, he was QB 11, I believe, from weeks like 8 to 14. He was QB 11 in points per
Starting
game.
with that Bills game. Yep.
Yeah. So the Bills game is like where it tails off, right? It just completely falls off a cliff after that. They made some philosophical changes offensively. It just wasn't very good. So I think brother, I think I'm back in. You have to give me
Love to hear
we're
that.
gonna have to have some deep thought and meditation exercises for you to give me the Captain Underpants outlook that scares me off of Matthew Stafford this year.
Yeah, I'm not gonna scare you off, Stafford. I have no doubt in my mind there. I'm a little scared of Davante, and I'm a little scared of where Puka's gonna end up.
Well, you know,
Because
Puka's
Davante is he's a top 7 player right
yes.
now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think
Yeah.
this firmly cements him probably in the front end of the first round. Just going over to Draft Sharks real quick to look at some stuff. I want to see where he's going right now. So right now, Luke Nukem is at exactly the 1-7, like you said, in underdog best ball draft. So with that,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
I didn't even look it up.
Yeah.
Heck
Look
yeah.
look at you, just ball knowing, just ball knowing off the top of the dome. That's what ball knowers do. Goodness gracious. That was a good pull. So yeah, I think that's not going to be the value that you find. Obviously, right now, these are somewhat current. It's what's happened in the last like 7 days. Devontae is at pick 50 at the beginning of the fifth round, 5-2. That's gonna skyrocket, don't you think?
He's flying up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
3rd round, easy.
yeah, yeah. And right now, I mean, I'm guessing, yeah, Matthew Stafford's gonna be at the bottom of this list. So right now, Matthew Stafford is going behind. This is prior to today, like last 7 days or however Draft Sharks does their ADP. JJ McCarthy, Justin Fields, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, Tua Tagovailoa, and Michael Penix are all going ahead, along with Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud, all going multiple rounds ahead of Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's at the 14th round right now.
That's gonna change.
But is it though?
I see he's one of those players where it doesn't happen like that. Like you've heard Stafford's name 100,000 times. Everyone's a little bored, so they aren't going to get excited about the guy, but they should. I think they really should. I think he should be going before every single one of those guys other than and I wonder if we're going to have discourse here than our guy Justin Fields.
I can't. So Fields, obviously, we're gonna get to the news on Justin Fields. I want to discuss. I almost said I want to touch on the DK Metcalf news.
Yeah, let's get to DK here.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Declan.
we'll get to Justin Fields here shortly. Justin Fields, by the way, at the 14-4, 4 picks before Matthew Stafford currently. We'll get to his ADP and discuss his actions today in free agency shortly. So DK Metcalf, this is the other big news of the weekend. DK Metcalf comes in and requests a trade, and normally these get ignored because he's a receiver, and he's granted with a trade. Tell the people where he went.
He is. He went to play with his younger brother, George Pickens.
Oh man. Oh man. Listen, this is the gift. This is dual fold. So it's somewhat sad for me. I'm happy for DK, obviously, because I mean, we're gonna get him potentially in a role with And we'll talk about some quarterback options because that is completely in
I
flux
mean,
for the
he's
Steelers
never
right now.
played with Russ before.
I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it with Russ once before. We've seen it with Geno and it not be great. He's just a perennial wide receiver too. So he did have the breakout season in 2020, I believe, with 80 for 1,310 touchdowns, or was it 13 touchdowns?
I I thought it was 8.
I think it was that was like the
From the
one double digit year that he got. And then every other year he just leads in end zone targets.
Oh, you're right. It's 12.
Okay.
Or no, he had 10 that breakout year.
So
12
80
the year
for
before.
80 for 1,310. So
Yeah.
now he goes to Pittsburgh. Now, not only does he get traded to Pittsburgh, they then give him a 5-year, $150 million extension. And that pretty much leaves us to like no question as to who the Pittsburgh Steelers view as the alpha wide receiver in the room, with noted rational, reasonable decision maker George Pickens looking for a new contract.
So, first, we have to mention how smart Ryan Poles was getting ahead of the wide receiver contracts and giving DJ Moore a contract at 24 mil, because DJ Moore should be making more than DK Metcalf. But I I personally love this offensive system. Like, I was tweeting at Sleeper that this is just Boogie and AD all over again. You're just putting two big guys next to each other, and they're just gonna. Oh wow, big guys next to each other, phrasing there. But
Whoa.
they're
Whoa.
yeah they're gonna have a really fun offense if they can get a pass cat or a pass thrower here. Like, it's so weird. It's another Pittsburgh like kerfluffle. I saw Ben Roethlisberger with a
Oh
coming
my
out of retirement
gosh.
video the other day.
Oh my gosh, bro. Like that
Who are you rooting for?
that made me so upset.
And who gets 14?
Oh, well, I mean, unless DK is going to pay him for 14, then George keeps 14. However,
I think DK ends up with 14.
well, I mean, if it's any sort of fisticuffs, yeah, my money's on the dude who's built like a minotaur. Like, yeah, I mean, if it comes to any sort of physical violence, my money is on my money is on DK Metcalf. However, if it's just, they're leaving it to chance, you never know. George might just straight up like just put some cherry pits in DK Metcalf's coffee or something like that and try to, poison him or something. I mean, just here's the deal. George has two devils on his shoulders with bullhorns just saying, do it. Do it all the time. And then then inside his head, there's Beetlejuice. The little person Beetlejuice is like, oh, nothing. What are you doing? Nothing. And then there's like the monkey from The Simpsons just banging cymbals. So that is a walking intrusive thought if I've ever seen one. And again, I love George Pickens. I just don't think that he's ever going to be able to get out of his own way and become the prodigious type of talent that he is. So we joke, but I'm being serious when I'm like, all right, well, this pretty much signals the end for George Pickens in Pittsburgh after this year. Like,
Really? Okay,
yeah.
because I thought this was the best thing possible for the guy.
Well, okay, so let's look at their history of paying wide receivers.
Yeah.
Usually, going back, so back in the day, they offered. So the way that Antonio Brown came about was they offered Mike Wallace the contract that AB signed back in the like. He didn't take it. They offered it to AB. AB takes it. Mike Wallace goes off to Miami. Boom, boom, bam, done. Then they bring in, that whole gang of Juju Smith-Schuster. Well, first it was Martavis Bryant. Martavis Bryant obviously couldn't stay off of the weed. And so that didn't work out in Pittsburgh. And then you had them try to they brought in Juju. Juju balled out, obviously, in the shadow of Antonio Brown. And then in the midst of all that, they went and got Chase Claypool, Mapletron, the first catching Canuck, if you will. And then
Worst pick of the Bears ever. Yeah.
I mean, Trading a second round pick for Chase Claypool is just wild work. Like, that's insane.
It was, especially the number 1 pick in the
Yeah,
second round.
that's
Oh
that's
my gosh.
insane. But we don't have to
Terrible.
we don't have to lament that very much. And then in the midst of all that, Deontay Johnson emerges, and then they draft George, and so they ship Claypool off. They get maximum capital for him, and they get George and Deontay. George flashes as a rookie. Then they give Deontay a little bit of money. And they're like, "Well, we don't want to pay you a whole bunch." And then they jettison Deontay off, and they're gonna restart the clock on the receiver, right? So I feel like instead of giving George the extension, they were like, "Man, we could probably get somebody that's a little bit more reliable and a little bit less of a headache than George. So we'll pay premium, but we'll pay for a guy who's not a headache per se." That's the way that I'm
You're
looking at it.
probably right. You're probably right there, but I cannot think of a better thing for a player like George Pickens than having a guy like DK Metcalf in the building, because it gives me a little bit of hope on his career. Because I'm a George Pickens fan
Yeah.
too. Like, come on, I want to see fights on the football field, and he raises that probability by 5%.
We have
So,
visual evidence,
or
can confirm.
yeah, we want him out there. So I think DK helps him learn that craft, learn when to turn it on and when to throw the blow. I think DK is going to be a reliable wide receiver too. The thing is, I feel like this puts both of their ceilings at wide receiver 20.
Yes. And I mean, obviously George has never finished. George has never finished inside of the top. Oh wow. Hmm. George has never been higher than a wide receiver 3 in his career. I believe the highest finish was wide receiver
God, that's so
26
weird.
last year. So,
That
and that's
hurts. He should be better than that.
that's with him getting the limited target share this year. I mean, he showed that with catchable, reliable targets, he can produce. That's always been my issue is whenever you've given him meaningful targets, he's produced. Like he was I mean, I think the stat before the year that I found for him, just on my own independent research, was if you give him 8 targets a game. So comparing him to Drake London going into this year, and then we don't have to spend too much more time here because I'm just gonna get mad because it hasn't worked out for George Pickens. But in games where he gets more than 8 targets, he averaged 113 yards a game. In games where Drake London had more than 8 targets, he averaged like 74 yards a game. And like this was over probably a 9-game sample size in his career to date. So it's not like it's just a coincidence. Like you give him targets, good things happen. They're far down the field, and he has a skill set that is almost indefensible. So, like, just give him the ball. He's right. Give him the ball. Good things happen. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents
Okay,
for that.
riddle me this. Riddle me this. Yeah, yeah. We can move on after this one, but what's the best case scenario for these guys, and what's the worst case scenario? Because they're going to bring a QB in, or they're going to draft one. We don't know which it's going to be. Jackson Dart screaming at them late in the
Oh
draft,
my
and
gosh.
I'll be honest, that's my worst case
Yeah,
scenario.
100%. So, who's the worst case scenario quarterback, or what's the worst case fantasy outcome?
Yeah, worst case scenario at quarterback and best case scenario at quarterback.
Worst case scenario at quarterback is with Kenny Pickett going to the Browns. I would say them taking a flyer on like Zach Wilson.
Oh, God, don't mention
Yeah,
that name,
I know. I had to go deep.
because they would
Yeah. I had to go deep into the
bring back Mason
yeah,
Rudolph.
just those are the worst case scenarios for me. I mean, the best case scenario, honestly, it's something that I mentioned on the FFD. I said I didn't want to see Aaron Rodgers go there just because I don't think that that's a culture fit. But now, that seems to be having legs, and we're going to discuss that shortly. So, yeah, I think that best case scenario is that they bring Russ back or they get Aaron Rodgers now.
I think it's Russ. I'll be honest. I think it's Russ because Aaron Rodgers doesn't give a flying fart about his stats, his reputation, anything anymore. And Russ still has a little bit to prove, and Russ can throw a deep ball. So I'd make the case that Russ is still the best case scenario, but boy, the Rodgers rumors are ringing, man, alliteration. Are ringing. I didn't have
Yeah,
another R word.
yeah.
They're ringing loudly.
Are ringing
I need a
are
thesaurus here.
real ringing. I don't.
Are ringing
Yeah,
real. Real would be good. Let's bring it to Aaron Jones
yeah.
here. We got Aaron Jones staying in Minnesota. Does this change your opinion of him at all? Because for me, exact same spot in the ranking.
So for me, from a dynasty perspective, it's nice because he stays tied into an elite offensive ecosystem with an elite play caller. I mean, he had 1,160 yards last year and 9 touchdowns. So, and he showed that he's still got quite a bit left in the tank. So, I think that this is
Oh yeah.
fantastic. I think he's going to be a great value in drafts. I mean, right now you're talking about him being, let's see here. Let me go back to Draft Sharks real quick. And right now he's at pick the eighth round, the fifth pick of the eighth round. So I think that that's tremendous value for a guy that's shown that he's a workhorse.
Same.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic. That's one of the best. That's one of the best signings. Here's what it does for me. It's taken a landing spot away from a rookie, but it's made that rookie whoever they bring in, it's made that rookie a tremendous value in fantasy drafts. Would you agree?
Oh, without a doubt. The backup behind Aaron Jones has been a fantastic pick for years now. We were trying to guess it last year. It ended up being Cam Akers, but Jamal Williams, AJ Dillon, like there is a myriad of players who have put up workable fantasy weeks behind Aaron
Yeah.
Jones.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. So I mean, we've gone over Davante Adams. We've now talked about Aaron Jones going back to Minnesota. That's just a great. I mean, that's such a good play by them. Bravo. DK Metcalf
Oh yeah.
has been traded. Now we buried the lead a little bit, and we're gonna talk about this one here. And I want to know. I want to know what your initial reaction is when I say the words Darnold to Seahawks for $110 million.
Well, you saw this in the Discord, and I got a lot of hate for this one. So I'm coming out here. Buzzards, bring it loud and proud. Matt Flynn.
Yeah.
Matt Flynn signed in Seattle. They already got Tavares Jackson in there. They already got Tavares, Sam Howell.
Rick's gonna be so mad when he hears this.
Oh, is Rick a big Darnold guy? Gross.
No. So
Of course
so
he
it
is.
goes back to it goes back to a bet that we made prior to the season last year where I said Sam Darnold would finish outside of the top 15. And he said, I gave him top 15. I started with top 12, and then we settled on top 15. And so obviously Darnold comes out and has a career year, but I still was never a believer because I was fortunate enough to watch enough Minnesota games to be like, all right, this dude just completely is lucking out, and there's some good stuff happening here, but also he's still doing the seeing ghost thing. But it just wasn't having TJ Hawkinson and Aaron Jones and Jordan Addison and Kevin O'Connell as a play caller. That was all enough to.
The best receiver room in the league.
Yes.
The best receiver room in the league.
Yes. So all of that was enough to hide the fact that he is still buns. And now he goes somewhere with no offensive line. Shout out to Casey, by the way. Casey nailed this from the FFD. He said that he pretty much called like this play to a T on February 27th. Yeah.
That's early.
Yeah. Like we were talking about
FFD, great work.
We were talking about landing spots for quarterbacks, and he said, well, What if Geno goes back with Pete Carroll and then Sam Darnold ends up with this? Like it's verbatim. It's on my story. It's on my story on TikTok, on our story on TikTok, and I believe on Instagram. So check that out if you want to go see somebody predict the future because it's super cool. And now so anyway, back to the regular scheduled programming. Darnold, $110 million, 3 years. I believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 million guaranteed. What does that do for you from a fantasy perspective?
Well, Jake Bobo is going to be a wide receiver 4, so excited to hear people tell me that that's
Oh,
somebody I should be drafting.
I just I took a drink of my monster and I
Oh yeah. Oh, I saw.
oh, it went up my nose when he said that.
You almost spit that up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we're all right. Go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, yeah. No worries. No worries. JSN's a good pick. Like he's fed guys like JSN in the past. He gave Robbie Anderson a decent play from the slot from time to time. Jordan Addison played really well from the slot last year. I believe that he can keep JSN as a top 18 receiver. But oh my gosh, the guy cannot play behind a bad O line. Like we've seen this time and again from quarterbacks in the league that can't play without an O line. We even saw it from Rodgers for a bit
Yeah.
last year, which was kind of spooky. But we've seen it from Darnold. We've seen it from Fields. We've seen it from almost Caleb,
Yeah.
honestly. We saw it from Levis.
Mhm.
And oh my gosh, there are quarterbacks that come out of college that can't play without a line. That's super okay. Kevin O'Connell could scheme for that. I'm not sure the Seahawks
Yeah.
can. And it really feels like Noah Fant season is really the only thing that I'm excited about. And all of my trillions of shares of Kenneth Walker the third feel useless. They're garbage. That
You
W's
you are
backwards.
buddy. You have gone
I
full
love
Captain
Gino.
Underpants. This is like Super Saiyan level 3 Captain Underpants. This is crazy.
Wait, are you excited for
I'm
it?
not excited for him, but I like JSN being outside the top 12 wide receivers. That's a hot take right now, bud.
Is that a
That's a
hot
hot
take?
one right now. Just let's go. Let's go to the ADP. Let's go to the ADP. I want to make sure.
Yeah, go to the ADP because I like trust me, I want to love JSN. I had him as one of my sleepers last year. I'm invested. I think the guy's great, but like I got him in the 9th round last year. Like, come on.
So right now, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so right now he's a wide receiver 14. And you're taking the under on wide receiver 14.
Yeah, I'll take the under on that. I think 18 is the ceiling hard stop.
That's spicy. That is spicy for a guy who broke out in his first opportunity to run real
Eh,
routes and be a real receiver. That's spicy. Did you not see what Sam
He's
Darnold just did
fantastic.
for Justin Jefferson? I'm sorry.
I saw what Kevin O'Connell did.
I'm sorry.
I saw
I
what
can't.
Kevin
I was trying to
O'Connell
keep it
did.
up. I was trying to keep it up. I can't keep it up. I'm
Yeah, I know you don't believe that.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Come on. Nick Mullins did that for Justin Jefferson.
Oh
Come on.
man. I kept it up for as long as I could. So JSN is at wide receiver 14 on Draft Sharks right now, boys and girls. And I think that I align with Captain Underpants here in the fact that I don't
No.
think that I don't know. I'm not in on wide receiver 14 with Sam Darnold. They have a lot of offensive line issues to fix. And I'm not sure that they can. Here's the thing. If they draft a tackle, they drafted 2 tackles, and neither one of them can stay healthy. And when they're not healthy, the Clint Kubiak offense was not one that, I mean, it's one that's predicated on play action and deep shots. And you know what you can't do with no protection with your offensive line? Is take deep shots.
Play action. Deep shot.
Correct. So what we saw for the first 2 games in New Orleans last year this does not lend itself to that type of success. And then to your other point, Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, okay? We're talking about a guy that's going right now in the back end of the 5th round, right at the top of the 6th, 5'11". We know what type of talent he is if he can stay healthy. I mean, on a per game basis, he's usually in that top 10 to 15 range in the healthy games that he plays. Now, we know that he'll play a game and then, look like dog crap. I mean, for example, if you don't believe in Kenneth Walker, go watch the Detroit game on Monday Night Football last year and you will become a believer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no question about the talent. It's just whether or not he can stay healthy. And now I think that we have a better crystallized picture. I would love to have Rick's opinion on this particular, because we're all three big Kenneth Walker guys, but he's obviously going to be the most bullish, I think, of the three. He and I had a discussion the other day where we were talking about what you would send to get Kenneth Walker, and I told him I wouldn't trade for him right now. Like I don't see. Yeah, I don't.
And I
love him. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's from my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't see, with the contract uncertainty, with all the changes. I just don't feel like. I don't feel like you can buy at a discount still, and that's the only way I would be trying to buy someone with all the question marks that he currently has, right?
Yeah, like Charbonnet's a safer buy at this point, and I don't think Charbonnet's anything special.
Right. So yeah, but yeah, we hit the Sam Darnold news. Obviously, we are not the most pro Sam Darnold.
We aren't excited.
I mean, good for him. I said after the playoff game that he probably cost himself quite a quiet $40 or $50 million. And so this deal comes in around the range of what Baker Mayfield is making, which I thought he was going to get more than that if he won a playoff game or acquitted himself well throughout, the backstretch of the season. So, but that didn't happen. So he's going to the Seahawks for $110 million, about $30 million a year annually. Good for him. We can move on. So,
real fast before that, if you're in Seattle, who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. All right, let's move.
I like how you give these dad puns and you're like, all right. We're done here. But
can't let him go on too long. People will reminisce.
Yeah, they'll be like, ooh, I don't know. That one hit though.
They'll be like, "Oh, damn, Addison doesn't have any actual content. He's just making jokes.
He's the funny guy." No, listen. So let's move on to, obviously, the last thing about the Seahawks. Tyler Lockett gets released. We're going to talk about some potential landing spots for him here shortly. But the big news of the day at the wide receiver position, outside of the DK Metcalf and Davante Adams news, Chris Godwin back to the Bucs on a discount deal.
This one hurts because I love McMillan. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
I think we even saw him get really good at the end of this year, and I think that's gone. I don't think we get to see it anymore.
You don't?
Really? Do you? Okay. This is interesting.
So hear me out.
I love some Discord.
Hear me out, brother. Hear me out.
So please convince me.
So Baker, okay. We don't believe that Baker is some sort of world beater. What we do believe,
he got 40 touchdowns.
Yeah, he got 40 touchdowns. He threw for 4,500 yards, brother. So we've got to. What I think is that Baker has learned to maximize his strengths in any system, and I think that with them promoting from within, they promote their passing game coordinator, Josh Grizzard, to the offensive coordinator position. I think that we're still going to see quite a bit of continuity in concept and utilization for all three wide receivers. So Does this lock Jalen McMillan's floor into more of a flex wide receiver 3 type of guy? Yes. But I think that he's gonna be one of those guys that I'm looking to have late round in every single one of my best ball teams all throughout 2025. Now, how do you feel about that?
Okay, I absolutely love that call because all you're saying is that Chris Godwin or Mike Evans are going to miss a couple
Yes.
games, which I agree with you. They will. They're old and really good at football. They catch the ball real
Right.
well, which means they take a lot of hits.
Yes.
So they'll miss some games.
Yes. Unquestionably. So
Great best ball pick.
Mike's gonna give you 14 to 15 games at this point. It's unknown how many games Chris Godwin's gonna give you. I mean, he suffered so many catastrophic injuries.
He's coming back from injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he suffered a bunch of catastrophic injuries at this point, being the ACL and then, the dislocated.
He's one of the biggest what ifs I've ever seen because, like, when he is on, that guy is
He's
on.
so good. He's so good. I mean, that's the quintessential, hey, this guy is a really, really good real life NFL receiver, and it doesn't always translate to fantasy. But he stays with the Bucks. He stays with the Bucks. $66 million, 3 years. I feel like on the open market, had he not gotten hurt, he's probably going to get a deal, get a very similar deal to a DK Metcalf
Yeah.
potentially. Because I mean, he was wide receiver 5 and just leading in just about every receiving category before he gets hurt. So yeah, I think that that was a very good, this is an unfortunate set of circumstances for him. I mean, $66 million, that the majority of that being guaranteed. You can never cry too much for someone, but I feel like he took a hometown discount more or less.
Yeah, and he loves Tampa Bay. We're talking about T. Higgins backup now.
We are talking about the slot aficionado, best slot tight end in the NFL, not named any other tight end. We're talking about Mike Gesicki here. So Mike Gesicki stays in Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati's doing everything that they can to boost ticket sales or something. I don't know. I mean, they're doing all the deals that people don't care about. Like, at this point, I feel like Mike Brown has to be trolling his fan base because you're going to see a breaking news, like breaking news, Cincinnati agrees to, and then you're going to click on it and it's going to be like, deal with Mike Gesicki. And you're like, mother.
It's going to be like Jeff Driscoll coming in for record low backup QB money.
Exactly. So, it's just, he gets 3 years, $25.5 million. Now, this is an interesting play from a fantasy perspective because if something happens to T. Higgins, we saw how good Mike Gesicki was without T. Higgins last year. And we've seen him have success in spurts before because he is one of the most athletic tight ends in the NFL. I mean, 6'6", 250 with a 37 or 38-inch vertical, and he runs a 4.5 or a 4.6. So he's
one of the worst gritties I've ever seen.
What'd you say?
One of the worst gritties I've ever
Yes.
seen.
Also, of note, it is confirmed as the worst gritty that we have ever seen. So, yeah, take that with a grain of salt when drafting. If you get points per gritty, don't draft Mike Gesicki. Okay? Do not. And then in other news, so this is less exciting, but it's more exciting if you're a fan of Strange. So the Jags signed 2 other tight ends, and none of them were Evan Ingram. And Brenton Strange is gonna be the guy in the tight end room in Jacksonville? Question mark.
I want to say yes, but I feel like Hunter Long might end up pulling it off. I don't know, man.
Bro. If you're
Don't they like the guys they signed?
I mean, yeah, they like them a little bit, but like you got to have some guys that are like backup long snappers and like just real gym rat.
You're right. You're right.
Just real gym rat coaches, players. You gotta those guys have to come from the tight end room because there's no fullbacks anymore.
Duval man doesn't know what he's doing. I'm worried about this.
I want to put the Duval sound. I'm gonna find a way to put that sound in the show. Just whenever we talk about Jacksonville.
Please do.
Yeah, I'm gonna find a way to put that in the show because that is fantastic. So yeah, I feel like going into the draft. I mean, this might be if you're looking to get out of the Brenton Strange business, this might be a good exit point for you.
This is the exit point. This is the point where you can trade Brenton Strange for a third round, maybe a second rounder in Dynasty.
Yeah. I'm smashing. I am smashing.
There won't be another
any
time.
second for Brenton Strange. So if you listen to the show,
easy.
We're in a league together. You send me an offer for Brenton Strange. It has a second involved in it. I'm going to hit accept, okay? All right, just so we're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
And then we'll fly through a couple of these. We've got Elijah Mitchell to the Chiefs. Oh, it could have been.
Does that matter?
Listen.
I hope it does.
I want to say it.
I like West Coast Isaiah Pacheco. Come on.
Now, I do like him too. I do. Yeah, it sounds like a beginning of Green Eggs and Ham, or all that. I do. So, I want this to matter because this is a guy who hasn't been healthy for the last 2 years, pretty much. We haven't seen anything from him in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And this is an offense that it's going to need someone to tote the mail in the event that they decide not to bring Kareem Hunt back or just Isaiah Pacheco is just not going to be the same guy. So this could just be depth. This could be the Clyde Edwards-Helaire replacement. I don't know, honestly. I don't have a great read on that per se. So I'm anxious to see what that means. It could mean absolutely nothing, but I felt like we should make note of it. And then we'll fly through these. I mean, we forgot to talk about Braxton Berrios to the Texans. No, I'm kidding. Justin Fields goes to the Jets. 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. He reunites with former Ohio State teammate Garrett Wilson. Addy, tell me how you feel about former Chicago Bear first-round pick Justin Fields, now the head honcho at the helm. You see that alliteration there? Like that?
Oh yeah, that was great.
Not for the Chicago Bears, for the New York Jets. How do you feel about this signing? What does this mean to you?
Okay, so Justin's one of those guys where I'm just going to have a spot in my heart.
Yeah.
We wrecked 3 years of his career. Just undoubtedly not his fault. We messed it up. It's not him. It's us. And when we traded and ended up with Caleb, wasn't super excited because I'm a huge Fields guy. So this is a biased take, but I'm giving it anyways. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
Give him some real weapons. We got some real weapons. We got a real team. They got Allen Lazard. They got Garrett Wilson. They got Tyler Conklin. They got Breece Hall. They got Braylon Allen. They got a bit of an O-line. Not a great one, but a fine one. And this is the situation we've been waiting for forever for Fields. And they gave him 2 years. And they gave him Tyrod Taylor as a mentor. Mm-hmm. The best one that you could hope for Justin Fields. We have a guy who put up 11, hear me, not 5, not 3, 11 top 5 QB performances in his 24 starts. That's a lot. This is fantasy gold. We were talking Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford in round 14, insane. Justin Fields in round 14. What makes me want to throw this mic in the toilet? Oh my gosh, I am excited.
Yes, sir. Talk to the people. Talk to the people. Woo! Yeah.
Oh, dude, just hyped.
I have been Justin Fields truther since I watched this reality show that he was on, and as a high schooler, and I followed his career through Georgia and then Ohio State, and I was like, this is a guy. This is a guy,
He's the guy.
and he's gotten off to the worst possible start in the NFL.
The worst.
And even with that, as a fantasy option, he gives you a top 5 season where he goes over 1,000 yards rushing. And then
And that season was so
he's
fun.
and then he goes out and the next year, he just makes DJ Moore fantasy relevant to the best season that he's ever had. So for me, it's absolute wheels up for Garrett Wilson. I cannot say enough about how much this makes me excited for Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson. I mean, it does kind of dampen my excitement for Breece Hall because we're probably not going to get as many dump offs. You know, the 76 reception season is just looking like it's going to be that's a thing of the past. We got to let that go. But what does happen with running quarterbacks is that it opens up more running lanes for your running backs. So that's fantastic. That's fantastic, man. I am thrilled. I did not want him to go back to the Steelers because Arthur Smith just wasn't going to do it was never going to work out as well. So I'm excited for him to get a fresh
Arthur
start.
Smith hates Justin
Yeah.
Fields.
I mean, Arthur Smith hates everybody except your third
Verifiably.
string tight end. So
No, he likes Ryan Tannehill.
yeah,
Come
that's
on.
true. That's true. That's true. Just Ryan Tannehill can't. He's mind broke. He can't go anymore.
And I'll go quick here. Bears got Thuney and Dahlman. We're 1 lineman away from a top tier O line, and that's wild to say as a Chicago Bears homer.
Yeah.
Like, haven't been able to say that since Olin Kreutz.
Yeah.
So,
but that's
gonna be neat.
nasty work, man. You got Dahlman, you got Tooney, you got Jonah Jackson, the 2 young tackles,
yeah.
Darnell Wright, and I believe what was the other guy's name?
Braxton
Jones. I mean, now that firmly puts you in play.
He's okay.
What's it say? Who's to say you're not going to draft an Armand Membu or a Will Campbell if he slides to 10, and now you're looking at
Simmons.
Yeah, Josh Simmons.
Kelvin Banks Jr.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys.
You actually took Kelvin Banks in the mock that we did. The uncovered mock.
Yes, and he's one of my top 3 draft fits for the Bears because he's versatile.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
And then we'll just hit a few rumors that we'll keep an eye on. We need to keep an eye on. So Evan Ingram visits the Broncos. He might be the perfect fit for that Joker role, but it would also ruin us from a dynasty perspective because that means no Colston Loveland or Harold Fannin Jr. Most likely, Harold Fannin Jr. would be the most likely outcome of the picks there. And then Aaron Rodgers.
Harold Fannin Jr. is everything I want Evan Ingram to be.
Yeah, I mean, just complete opposites of profile. Evan Ingram is, runs a 4.4 and all that other stuff, and Harold Fannin comes in is just like, nah, man, I'm just good at football. That's what I do. I don't care about testing. I'm just good at football. So, and then this is the one to keep your eyes on the most. Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers having mutual interest. Yeah, that one I've spoken out against that one. I might be okay with it. I don't know.
You've spoken out about it. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Mike Tomlin punch Aaron Rodgers in the face.
That's what I don't want. Those are 2 of my favorite people, and I want them to maybe, just because my best friend is, just because I have 2 best friends, that doesn't mean that they have to be best friends. I don't know if I want to see them together. You know what I mean? I love Mike Tomlin. I love Aaron Rodgers.
That with DK and George Pickens is a big powder keg of players.
Right. It's like maybe there at some point everybody has a breaking point, and that might be Mike Tomlin's breaking point. And then a couple more real quick hitters. Keenan Allen going back to the Los Angeles Chargers. Ooh, that'd be really interesting because do you line him up primarily? Has Ladd earned the right to supplant Keenan Allen in the slot there?
Oh, without a doubt. But Keenan comes in and he can only play the slot, and Ladd can play both. So
See, we'll talk about that one. We'll talk about that one offline because I have my thoughts. It's interesting, but I have my thoughts. So, and then last but not least, Tyler Lockett to the Raiders. Blah 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 blah. Good for him. Maybe it works out. Maybe it
No
doesn't.
kidding.
Again, these are just rumors that we have heard, and it's just something that you. That's just something that you just keep your eyes on. Just to keep your eyes on.
File it away.
So yeah, I got lost for a second because I was like, I don't know where to go from a Tyler ending the episode with a Tyler Lockett rumor. So
I know, right?
with that, we've run through kind of the first wave of free agency. We're really excited. I mean, this is NFL is a year-round news cycle now. Super duper happy to be able to bring you this episode. If you would, please like, download, comment, subscribe. I am at Chev90 on the Twitter machine. And then we're at 2guys1pod FF on all social media platforms. Addy, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah. I am at Duck League Champ on the Twitter and the Instagram, as well as League.champ on TikTok and Nard Dog on FSAN. And another fun thing is that Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin, if they did get in a fist fight, I'm putting 100 on Tomlin.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm putting it on anybody that looks like Mike Epps' doppelganger. I'm putting it on him before a guy who looks like an extra in Point Break. So, also, very important to note, please go if you go to the Google, go to the App Store, download the League Champ app. We will be rolling out the new app here soon. So if you're interested in that, please shoot me a DM and I can get you a test of the beta. We will be back with you soon to go over more of the free agent signings. I am the legendary ball knower. That is Addy, the Nard Dog Narder. Big Dog's going to eat. And I will leave you with this thought. If a man shows you who he is, never believe a word he says if you catch him peeing sitting down. Have a great night, everyone.